The Hartford Public Library was founded on August 25, 1904 through the efforts of the Hartford Free Library Association. It was housed in two upstairs rooms in the old City Hall. The association's board set policies, books were donated. The Wisconsin Free Library Commission was involved with the organizational and planning and cataloging of the materials. Fines and donations were the sole sources of revenue for the library. Juno Getz agreed to serve as the volunteer librarian. At this time, the library was open 10 hours a week. The Library Association voted to allow rural and city residents together to use the library for $1.20 per year, apart from students who were given the opportunity to use the materials in-house. Many thought the library was developed for city residents only, and with non-resident borrowers, this started a few bumps in the road for the library during the first few years. As the road continued, money was the concern. The association sent a formal request to the city asking for monetary support in addition to providing the room in City Hall. In 1906, the city gave $100 as the first contribution to the public library. This assistance allowed Juno Getz to be paid her duty as a librarian. The first major change to library operations came with the building of the new Hartford High School in 1914. The Library Association felt its operations in City Hall had become too crowded. An agreement was reached with the school board to move the public library to the new school where students could have easier access to the collection. The school would provide a room, janitorial services, and cover the cost of utilities. The library moved from City Hall down the street to the high school located on Mill Street, where we are standing today. By 1917, the Library Association had requested a special reading room in the school to accommodate those who desired a quieter environment. The association promised to increase library hours as an incentive to both the school and the city to support a larger library space. In 1918, an additional $400 was provided by the city in library funding to help cover the cost of developing a reading room at the high school, along with the increase in hours that the library was open. Still located in the high school in 1925, this created 5 years of challenges as there was increased demand for improving public library services. The city owned the library, but not the building. So when the city was considering a major renovation and in addition to City Hall, planning for the new building, including space for the library, began with the City Council's approval of the project on September 10, 1929. Juno Getz retired after 26 years as the director of the library. Martha Ports became the second director and was tasked with moving the library from the high school on Mill Street to the new City Hall location. The library had 1,500 square feet with a separate entrance off of Main Street. The grand opening of the new library was January 20th, 1931. As the library settled into this location, hours were increased from 15.5 per week to 18. Tragedy struck the library on January 3rd, 1940, when Mrs. Ports unexpectedly passed away from a heart attack. Evelyn Luttrop became the library's third director. After World War II, the library experienced a 35% increase in circulation as the troops returned home. The library served as the place for both pleasure reading as well as locating information on jobs, vocational training, and colleges. At the end of 1952, Evelyn Luthrop resigned as the director to take a library position in California. Elizabeth Olson took over as the fourth library director on January 1st, 1953. Between 1955 and 1964, the city of Hartford experienced growth and development. Lincoln Elementary opened in 1955. A new high school opened in 1960. Woodlawn Park opened in 1961. The post office started using zip codes in 1963. As the community grew, so did the demand to the Hartford Public Library. The 1,500 square foot space the library had at this time was crowded. While work was taking place to expand space within the City Hall, an agreement was reached in 1959 to use part of the gymnasium space in the lower level of City Hall for a children's library. Elizabeth Olson resigned as director to become the new children's librarian, and Natalie O'Neill was promoted from assistant director to the library's 5th director on March 1st, 1959. The Hartford Fire Department left City Hall for a new fire station 2 years later, and space for the library tripled as the remodeling was completed at City Hall. On May 27th, 1962, the library settled into an expanded space after having occupied one floor in City Hall for over 30 years. It would be a 5-year stretch before another move was considered. Natalie O'Neill retired as director at the end of 1971, and by January of 1972, Betty Wenzel became the new library director. Approaching its 75th birthday, the library space was truly at a premium in 1975. The library board requested the city consider adding space for a staff workroom in the gymnasium of City Hall. This was met with mixed reviews, and the question as to expand was put to a referendum in April of 1976. It was defeated. After the vote, the city agreed to remodel the lower level of City Hall, now the council chambers, for a youth library. In November of 1976, the library took over this space for a larger children's library. Plans were underway once again to renovate City Hall. It was decided the most cost-effective way to not only renovate the City Hall built in 1930 and to keep all the departments under one roof was to expand the current location. The library was given the entire top floor of the new City Hall, and it consolidated all the services to one level. The space was expanded to 14,500 square feet and opened on June 3rd of 1985. This was intended to be a 15-year answer to ongoing space problems for the library, as hours were also increased to 53.5 hours per week. Over the course of the next 26 years, traditional library services were changing at the request of patrons, and as technology was playing a larger role in our daily lives. On Friday, May 1st, 1994, the Hartford Public Library's first online catalog went live, and their traditional card catalog was no longer updated. From 1994 until present day, the library went from a standalone online catalog to a single county operation, to a 5-county operation, then back to a 3-county operation, then down to 2 counties. Currently, the library cooperates with 33 public libraries in 4 counties through the Monarch Library System. The library was again faced with space and funding issues in the 1990s. Projecting future need, the board purchased 2 acres of land adjacent to the Hartford Mill Pond in 2002 to construct a new library. In early 2007, the library received an anonymous donation of $2 million to be used to build a new library, with a caveat. If the city did not make use of the money for a new library in 5 years, the donation would not be made. In the summer of 2007, the firm of Plunkett Rayshitz Architects was hired to conduct a needs assessment to review library space and service needs for the future. State standards for public library service were analyzed and evaluated to address the current and forecasted population trends for Hartford. Simultaneous to the development of the library's planning process, the city administrator and a group of department heads were preparing a long-term management facility study for City Hall completed in September of 2007. The study provided several options to the City Council to address growth needs and the development of several of its departments. After reviewing these options, the Hartford City Council selected the scenario that supported the construction of a new standalone public library and the relocation of various departments into the vacated library space at City Hall. Plans called for the police department to occupy the majority of the lower and main floors, with the engineering department, the planning and zoning departments, and the community development authority into the vacated library space. Upon conclusion of the planning process, the library board presented the Common Council with its findings for a new library. On October 25, 2007, the Common Council approved the request for a 2-story facility adjacent to the mill pond that more than doubled the size of the facility on the top floor of City Hall and provided downtown with 100 parking spaces. The name of the anonymous donor was revealed after approval by the Common Council, Geraldine Russell, making the donation in memory of her late husband Jack, a public school teacher in Milwaukee until 1978, who passed away in 2005. As teachers, they spent their lifetime using books to impart knowledge and wisdom to children. Jerry thought it was only fitting that a library be named after Jack. I wanted to do something special, and they had been talking about a new library for a long time, so this seemed like a good idea. Jerry Russell was quoted as saying that on November 18, 2007. With an inheritance Jerry had and shrewd investing, the Russells accumulated enough wealth to support causes such as the Shower Center, the Chandelier Ballroom Restoration, and the Hartford Hospital Foundation. The total cost to build the Jack Russell Memorial Library was $10.2 million. The money came from the following sources: $2 million from Jerry Russell, $1 million from the Library Board Trust Fund, $5 million from the City of Hartford, and $2.25 million was fundraised through a capital campaign called Your Library, Your Doorway to Discovery. On Saturday, March 13, 2010, a public groundbreaking ceremony was held, a month after Jerry passed away from cancer. The Jack Russell Memorial Library is a two-story, 35,500 square foot facility topped with angled wood beams, an architectural nod to the mills that once lined the Rubicon River. It sits northeast of the Mill Street and Park Avenue, where the old Hartford High School once was. After 31 years, Mike Galhausen retired, and on April 1st, 2015, Jennifer Einwalter became the library director. Our focus has been on embracing the potential of this beautiful library and improving the services provided to the